About 40% of our happiness on average is dictated by our genes. About 15% is dictated by our life circumstances. About 50% of our happiness is really up to us. Over the last 15 years or so with National Geographic, I've developed a bit of an expertise at finding extraordinary populations in the world and then learning from them. But how do you do this for happiness? How do you measure happiness? You can look at somebody who's laughing today, but it might be masking depression. People could be fibbing about their happiness, or they may just be laughing and happy because they had a few cocktails. Happiness is really a meaningless term because you can't really measure happiness, but you can measure life satisfaction. You can ask people on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, I'm going to start with the coolest way to measure happiness. What we search for in Google predicts happiness even better than education and income. First of all, it turns out that people who Google about their dogs are happier than people who are Googling cats. Go figure. People who are looking to find action movies and comedies are happier than people who are looking for romances. And for those of you who prefer romance by yourself, people who Google softcore porn are happier than people who Google hardcore porn. Don't worry, it was anonymized data. But for this project, I took a more straightforward approach. I asked these huge databases to tell me where in the world life satisfaction's highest, daily emotions are highest, and purpose is highest. The happiest place is the island nation of Singapore. What you have here are 5 million people, very ethnically diverse, that live in near perfect harmony. Almost everybody in the entire country owns their own house. And in these high-rise housing communities, every building reflects the ethnic diversity of the entire country. So you have no ghettos for the Malay, or no ghettos for the Indian, or gated communities for the Chinese. The kids go to school together. The part of the world where people enjoy their life most from day to day is in Costa Rica. The Central Valley in the middle of the country, gorgeous place, flanked by 3 volcanoes, verdant green, best coffee in the world too. And everywhere in Latin America, there's some sort of a Latin American secret sauce. If you control for everything else, Latins are happier than every place else. And the needs are taken care of in Costa Rica. So these Latin values of family, of religion, and the notion that they'll never forego a great social experience to stay at the office and do a little extra work. The happiest people in the world are socializing face-to-face with people that mean something to them about 5 to 6 hours a day. And they get that here in Costa Rica. You go to the other side of the planet, northern Denmark, Aarhus specifically, we found the highest purpose. People find more purpose in their life than any place else. So this is a place where status is not really celebrated, but equality is. This is a place where people are taxed to the mean. So people don't take a job just for money. In America, according to Gallup, only 30% of Americans like their job. In Denmark, it's about 80% because they don't have to worry about paying for their insurance, and they kind of realize that status isn't celebrated. They're better off getting a job that addresses their passion and their flow. So you see things like furniture design and architecture. They work for 37 hours. They knock off at 3:30 p.m. and then they go enjoy their hobby, be it rabbit jumping or bicycling au naturel. Don't try this at home. So when it comes to individuals, the picture's a little bit different. So not all of us can move, but I'm going to give you a few ideas on how you can shape your own environment, your own ecosystem to favor happiness. People who undergo a deep meditation experience are able to live in the present better than people who don't. It's a certain rewiring of the brain in a permanent way. Every new happy friend you add to your social network increases your own happiness by about 15%. Unhappiness and even loneliness are measurably contagious. So really curating those people who you're traveling through life with is one of the most dependable ways to create your happiness. When it comes to work, the biggest driver of whether or not you're happy at work, it's nothing to do with your pay or your job or your boss. It's whether or not you have a best friend at work. So the takeaways are this. When it comes to happiness, think about a diversified portfolio of pleasure, pride, and purpose. And don't try to change your behavior. Don't run after happiness. Trying to run after happiness or change your behavior to be happier is a recipe for neurosis. It'll occasionally work in the short run. It'll almost never work in the long run. So I want to close with a blessing. This comes from a guy named Armando Fuentes. He's a columnist in Mexico. I asked him for his advice, and he thought for a minute, and he said, yes, here's what I recommend to you for happiness. He said, eat without gluttony, drink without getting drunk, love without jealousy, argue but don't go to bed mad, and occasionally, with great discretion, misbehave. And it seems that having sex at least twice a week is not only good for those daily emotions, but life is pretty satisfying. And then there's a question about purpose. Do you use your strength to do what you do best every day? It's a question that's answered.